In NA's last chance at redemption to secure basically any win in the first half of the group stage, NA hopefuls Evil Geniuses take their next shot at facing one of the LCK giants in Damwon KIA. The main thing to note here is the respect I actually give these NA teams to try something different and at least changed up the pace of the game, in spite of them not otherwise being able to find much ground in the group stage so far. I think DK also did a great job to respond to the conditions that were given to them as well, and I want to take some time to highlight this match and why teams need to always be ready to prepare for whatever situation hits them. As always, if you enjoyed this content, would love a sub for more content like this. Let's hop into the draft. To kick things off in the draft, DK banned out Akali, Graves, and Maokai, whereas EG opted to remove Caitlyn, Yuumi, and Aatrox. In addition to these three picks, the dynamic has basically become about which prio picks are available for the opener on the B1 and R1 R2. So in addition, we've got the Sejuani as well as Azir, which has been quickly moving up to the top of the priority pool. With the start of this draft, DK swing for the Azir opener, which I think when piloted by the calculated style of Korean teams, makes for a pretty good start. EG opt to take the other remaining priority pick in Sejuani, as well as take Sylas to match into the Azir. DK actually banned the Akali matchup for Azir, so this is one of the other picks that are open for them as well. I also think this feeds well into JoJo's style of play, so considering that in mind, this draft is alright for EG. DK also returned with another blind of their own, taking Aphelios, the strongest blind AD in the meta right now, as well as a pretty good pairing for it in the Renata. She's pretty blindable, and the rationale for this is that if they don't lock down one of the pairings now, they're basically going to lose the pairing. I don't think it's going to be that impactful personally at picking it here, but from this position, DK is in a good spot either way, so I don't really think it matters that much. It just opens up a backwards poke condition for EG because Renata matches poorly into Enchanters as well. To further supplement into this, EG actually opts into Ezreal as their R3, which I think is pretty dope. It would be ideal to hold the pick for a little bit later, but because of the nature of red side, the only other slot that could realistically pick the Ezreal is R5. I don't think it's reasonable though, so I dig the pick now. Now the dynamic of the game is pretty wild. DK have a really solid front to back comp, but EG have now established that they can play outside that range and just avoid a confrontation in order to win the draft. It's super integral that DK try to answer this condition in their B4, B5 by either matching range or actually playing forward to counter this. This is contingent on what EG reveal on the R4 to determine which of these two styles will actually be better, because both of them are actually possible here. With this, the jungle pool is actually choked pretty heavily, with DK banning out both Viego and Bel'Veth, and while EG cleared the way for a good top matchup by banning Camille and also the Poppy. Moving on to R4, EG swing for the Bard, which from this perspective is actually pretty insane on paper. It's a great matchup for Bard because Renata's kit is designed to maximize the front to back and prevent engage, and Bard's actually able to move around the map for free without much recourse. This sets up a chance for EG to actually invest resources on top or mid in order to force things happening on the map, and also puts a ton of emphasis on the R5. For their all-in, DK swing for the Lee Sin and the Jace, which is their answer for the EG poke condition. One of the ways you can actually deal with poke is to match it, and while I think the blind Jace is actually very ambitious from DK, conceptually it adds up and makes sense. This just opens up two things for me based on Jace's matchup curve and what team composition that DK have formed now. The onus can be back on EG to pick an aggressive pick to absolutely dumpster this Jace pick, things like Fiora come to mind here, or they can pick something neutralizing like Ornn and kind of just chill and win the game with time. They swing for the latter, actually flexing Sejuani to top to neutralize and then picking Hecarim R5. It's definitely very spicy and I like their ability to use the flex, but the Hecarim pick itself is what's giving me issues in my opinion. Playing a backline dive champion into both Renata and Aphelios, which are champs that can deal with it quite easily, does not really make it convincing for me to find a way for it to succeed. Overall, I think EG had some very spicy picks this draft in order to force an advantage, and although I think they were on the cusp of something pretty sweet, I think they slightly missed their mark on picking the right champions and their opportunities to punish DK. Overall, I do rate this draft 60-40 in favor of DK as well. As always, hopefully this analysis was helpful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.
Don't you think like that?